Howdy, partner. Welcome to Shakiest Controller in the West, Stories of the Worst E-Cowboy. This is just a podcast that's going to be all about just some crazy stories that happened to me in Red Dead Redemption 2 and how I easily became the worst E-Cowboy on the planet.
Warning, minor spoilers ahead.
So today's episode 1 is just all about ladies and their horses. I had some weird interactions out on the open trail with some ladies and their horses. So I just want to share a couple of those stories. So this first one is very early in the game. I'm still learning the controls. I haven't played a ton. I think by now in the game I'm at chapter 3 now. But this was in my first 30 minutes of getting past the opening. So like you just unlock the free roam. So I'm going into Valentine, I believe, the town of Valentine, and as you're going, you can just follow the trail, and you'll hear like people calling for help or whatever. So I roll around this corner. There's this lady on the ground with her horse dead on top of her, and she's just screaming bloody murder, and she's just saying, "Can you help me get this horse off of me?" So I oblige. I stop my horse. I get the horse off of her. It's dead. She asks if she can have a ride back into Valentine. So I go ahead and do that. I'm like, okay, I'm trying to be a good bad guy, as some of us always are. So she gets on my horse. We're not that far from Valentine, so it's not far ride. But these extra characters talk a lot when you're on your ride. So she's talking a ton and telling me all this crazy story about her husband leaving her or something, and he killed her first horse and all this crazy stuff. So I finally get her back into town. All right, finally get her back into town, and she gets off the horse. She gives me like a silver ring or something, something worth like $2, something like that. Gives me a silver ring, thanks me. She gets off the horse. As she starts to walk away, I'm new at the controls. I don't really understand how everything works. I turn my horse right into her, and she falls over and starts screaming for help. And all of a sudden, the wanted bounty pops up that I'm being accused of assault. Everybody starts chasing me down, trying to pull me off of the horse. Okay, so they're chasing me down. The law's coming out. People start shooting at me for accidentally hitting the chick that I just gave this like 10-minute ride to back to town. And now my bounty's like $15 that I've got to pay off after I just got a $2 ring from her. So I just take off out of town on my horse. Right out of town. I'm running over people at this point, so the bounty's going up. And so I get out of town. I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm not picking up anybody else. I don't care what they need. I'm done with it. I'm gonna ignore all these people. So at that point, I started ignoring all the people that wanted help. All right. I was like, I'm not dealing with it, because I'd give them a ride. They give me a $1 ring. And then if I accidentally do anything wrong, the whole town goes ape. So that's my first instance of helping somebody on the road that happened. So fast forward a little bit farther down the road. I've unlocked a lot more areas. Taking my horse, I'm going to a whole new area of the map that I haven't gone to. Okay, so it's far from the camp, from the main camp. It's really far from the main camp. So I'm riding forever away. It feels like it's probably a good 15-minute ride. So I'm riding, and I hear again a lady hollering for help. Her horse has died. She's under like this tree on the side of the road. I'm like, okay, maybe I won't have to give this person a ride. Maybe it's something a little bit simpler. Maybe the horse isn't actually dead. I can use a horse revive on it or something. I don't know. So I pull over and get off, and no, the horse is dead. She's asking for a ride somewhere. And I'm like, okay, surely it's not that far away. It's no big deal. I've learned how to control my horse. I know not to just slam it into people or do anything crazy like that, okay? So I'm gonna give her a ride, a short, quick ride to wherever she's going. So she gets on the horse. It gives me a direction to go. I don't really open the map because I figure it's not that far. And she starts into this huge spiel about her life. Her husband's like crazy, and she left him, and he killed her first horse or something. In this big argument, or let her first horse die. I don't know. The attention to detail on these side stories of just random people you run into is insane. So she's telling me this epic story, and I was just like, okay, this is a little bit ridiculous. She's apparently working for this guy that's a mean old grump, and she's just like pulling weeds or doing a little bit of farming or something on his ranch. So I'm like, okay, she told me where she wanted to go back to this ranch so she can apologize to the friend that she borrowed the horse from, now that the horse is dead. I don't know. So I'm like, okay, I'm finally going to open the map and see where exactly it is I'm taking her. Because it was a little bit of a different direction from where I was originally going. Open the map. Okay, she is taking me to the other side of the map. The all like complete opposite side of where I was headed to do this mission is where this gal has gotten from on this horse. So for one, how in the world did her friend let her borrow the horse to go all the way across the stinking map for, I don't even know what she was doing, but she borrowed a horse from a friend to take off and maybe never come back. Now she's going back to apologize to this friend. I could have literally bought her the $5 horse. Okay, I could have bought her the $5 horse and she could have never ever gone back to this place that she so despised that she kept bringing up for my now 25-minute ride back to where she came from. Okay, ridiculous. So I finally get there, and I'm fried at this point. I'm ready to go back and do the actual mission I was working on. It was a pretty interesting mission. So I drop her off. She says thank you. She gives me a gold ring this time. So instead of $2, it's worth $4. I don't know, something like that. So I'm like, all right, sweet, fine. I'm dipping. I'm heading out of town. So I turn my horse around to leave town. A stagecoach comes through town and runs her over, and she dies right there after all of that time that I spent trying to get her back to where she wanted to go. At that point, I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. I am so done helping these ladies that have these horse issues. And I'm not going to lie, I haven't even run into one. I haven't run into one since. But it's so ridiculous. So my first lesson was the first lady, I accidentally bump her. She accuses me of assault, and the whole town chases me down just in anger, and then I have to go figure out how to pay a bounty. Second lady gives me this big epic story about how she's trying to run away, makes me take her all the way back only to get run over by a stagecoach and die. Anyway, so moral of the story is watch out who you're picking up on the side of the road. I'm going to close this one out with just another kind of funny first 30 minutes type lesson that I learned. So early on in the story, when you get to the open world, they take you into town, but you're riding on a wagon, so you don't have your actual horse with you. So you get into town, you do a few things that are kind of main story based, just to kind of learn some of the mechanics, how things work, that kind of stuff. So you're in Valentine, and your group that you're with says, hey, we'll meet you back at camp. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I know how to whistle for my horse, right? Whistle for my horse. My horse is at camp. They've taken the little wagon back to camp already. So I'm in town with no horse, and it's really far to run from place to place, not an option usually, right? So I was just like, okay, I guess I'll borrow a horse or something. So at this point in the game, I'm still in the little I can remember of Red Dead, and you can correct me if this is wrong. I may not be remembering this right. Horses were expensive. And there was no horses close by for me to go lasso like a wild horse. You know, that takes a whole bunch of time. I'm close to town. There's nothing like that going on. So I'm like, okay, look, I know that it lets you borrow a horse and you can bring it back because I just done that on another mission. So I'm like, okay, I'll borrow a horse. I'll ride to camp, get my horse, bring said borrowed horse all the way back to Valentine, call it good. We're golden. Let's dip, right? So I jump on I kind of go into the outskirts of town. I jump on a horse that's kind of by itself, not thinking about it. As soon as I jump on this horse, you hear that stinking O'Driscoll accent. Hey, that's my horse. All this crap. And I was just like, you have got to be kidding me. The one horse I picked, there's an O'Driscoll right over the wall with his boys. So I get off the horse immediately. That's too late. If you haven't run into the O'Driscolls, you know what I'm talking about. This dude's they draw iron, right? Well, look, I ain't putting up with it at this point. I'm ticked that I got abandoned by my posse, by my gang, with no horse, and they said, hey, meet you back at camp. And now I picked the wrong horse to get on. So I drop all those suckers, all three of them, they're done. And of course, there's witnesses in town, so it turns into this ridiculous shootout with all the law coming after me after I just tried to borrow the wrong horse to get out of town. So I just take off running at this point. I don't have a horse. I'm running because let's not talk about it. I accidentally shot the one horse that I was going to borrow anyway. I shot it, so now it's dead, and I don't have any horse close by to just grab without going through the entire town again. So I take off running. There's like all kinds of like mountains and stuff. I don't know the map at all, so I run the wrong direction. I end up at a cliffside with like the whole town of Valentine chasing me down. So I turn around and I'm fighting off the law. You know, when you walk into the sheriff's office, there's 2 of them, but when you do something wrong, there's like 40 of them. So I'm taking them out one by one. Anyways, finally get enough space. They're all dead. I get one of their horses that they have ridden out there to try to get me, and I finally get out of Valentine. And I start the game off with like a $75 bounty in Valentine for just trying to borrow the wrong horse. So there's my ridiculous failures of some of the ladies and their horses, my first horse story. But anyways, I'm having a lot of fun with the game. It's really cool. I'm learning a lot of stuff. I'm trying to avoid a lot of spoilers. I still get on Reddit and see the funny things that are happening to people just as ridiculous as the stories I'm seeing, if not more ridiculous. There's some really funny clips on there. I enjoy that. So appreciate you all listening to this first one. I don't know how long each one of these is going to be. I'm just going to have a theme, kind of talk through it. Do that kind of stuff. But you can, if you can like, subscribe, share, whatever you're listening to this on, share it with people. Let them know. Here's a place to find some funny stories. Share your stories. You can email me at worstecowboy@gmail.com. You can support us at patreon.com/worstecowboy. You can find it at youtube.com/worstecowboy. You can find me on Twitter, M0YJ0. Share your stories. We'll share some of people's ridiculous stories as well as we get into more and more stuff that's going on. I'm going to try and do 2 or 3 podcasts a week. So they might not be your hour-long podcasts, but we'll try to keep them around like 15-minute mark. Try to at least always be 10 minutes or more sharing some ridiculous stories of things that happen. So anyways, hope you enjoyed episode 1, Ladies and Their Horses. Thanks for listening to Shakiest Controller in the West.